Hello there, welcome to another devlog for Devastos Chronicles. It's been a while since the last video, but I'm happy to bring some good news about the project after some rough months. In the last video we talked about the project's history, and in a later video we showed how we were using custom data layers to create height maps and making jumping possible. However, things got too complicated. After a lot of debugging and testing, we realized that the system might not work as expected and would not meet our expectations for gameplay. As you can imagine, this made the system clumsy and buggy. If we were to use it just for jumping, the system would work just fine. But once we started adding complementary systems such as moving platforms and pushing blocks, we could see ourselves getting stuck once again. This happened before, when we were using RPG Maker XP, and the process started getting too complex. After some brainstorming, we made the bold decision to make the game 3D. In a recent tweet, I demonstrated the game's underlying 3D structure, but the rendering aspects remain unchanged. This idea was inspired by games such as Enter the Gungeon, A Link Between Worlds, and Dungeons of the Endless, which use a similar workflow. For us, this decision streamlined jumping while sorting and shadows, reducing the amount of code needed and improving debugging. It also simplified the implementation of future features such as pushable blocks, for instance. Even though visually the game remains the same, our pipeline has changed drastically. Instead of making our scenes directly in Godot, now we have to create them differently. First, we use tiled to make our map draft. Once we have a basic idea, we move to Crocodile 3D, a tool for creating 3D scenes with tiles. If you don't know it, I highly recommend it, especially if you want to develop low-poly games or just want to leverage 3D physics like us. In Crocodile, we recreate our 2D map, applying transformations and distortions to make our pixel art as faithful as possible. The secret is using a camera rotation that does not distort your viewport. Once we have our map model, we import it into Godot. As concave shapes are not working correctly at the moment, we cannot use the tri-mesh collision sibling, so we created primitive shapes in Blender to populate our mesh library that we use in a grid map. Once we have everything set up, it's time to map. This works pretty much like a tile map, but with an extra coordinate. After testing it, we hide this node. Some collisions are created manually, such as the bridge and the ramp. Another great thing about using 3D is that we can use perspective to our advantage, as seen in the case of these grass tiles. For them, we use Sprite 3D nodes, which are useful for interactable objects. Having completed the project migration and our map pipeline, we're now able to set new goals and continue working on old and new functionalities. I also had a good time writing some new music for the game, such as this one playing right now in the background. Thanks a lot for watching.